already facing east. As they call in what the whole Russian shy. They want to see these apostles. This stuff as well. Maybe close today. We're just gonna get into some topics in the news. Some various topics in the scriptures. Move this down, let's move ourselves down a little bit. Right around here. There's a cop here. Let's just hope he doesn't pick this up. Because, you know, cops sure love doing that to us. As soon as they see us, it's, time to kick us out. But shouldn't be that big of a problem today. Area I'm at is closed, so cops should just chill out away from the property area, not like right up against the property, so I shouldn't be dinged for trespassing or anything crazy. So the first topic for today is Infowars.com. Get into this topic. We'll touch on a few things. We're going from there. Let's see if this loads. So, this is Infowars.com. United Nations Development Program urges governments to push digital ID. Alright, so while this whole thing is going on with Israel and Palestine, this is what the United Nations is pushing out, you know. So the UN Development Agency, UNDP, has published its government's framework for digital public infrastructure, which the World Organization, no doubt, eagerly hopes all of its 190 plus members will align with. Once again, another UN body comes out with a contested policy basement on the overarching one that's supposed to provide it with legitimacy, the Sustainable Development Goals and Agenda 2030. Here, UNDP said in a post, as we'll say last month, that the digital ID framework was reacting to requests for institutional support allowed its own effort as inclusive and based on ostensibly civil and legal rights, which it's not. Digital ID is just going to give them more power to watch over us, and stalk us, and take away more of our rights. We know that digital ID is going to come with a microchip. So what is clear is that the UN is very committed to pushing the adoption of digital IDs, and so at every opportunity, the activities in UNDP included. For those countries, rather their current governments would set to follow UN's lead on digital public infrastructure, in which digital IDs are a part. Reports say that the recommended framework has 9 points. Legal, regulatory frameworks, non-discrimination, access to information, legal accountability, capable institutions, user value, procurement, and anti-corruption and data protections. The Sustainable Development Agenda cited in this case is to do with civil registration at birth of every person born on the planet, and is apparently making sure that's digital going forward. Right? What's wrong with the current system? The UN thinks a lot, but at the same time wants to make sure the digital versions developed and implemented by various governments have adequate and indeed robust governance in place out of the gate. Right? So that's what they want to do. Because digital ID is what exactly is tied into with the MOTB. To people out there who complain about us getting into this prophecy, get over it. Revelation 13 and 12. And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him and caused the earth and none which dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed, talking about Rome basically coming back as America. Actually, I'll go into this. Revelation 13:11. I beheld another beast come out of the earth. He had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Right, and the two horns like a lamb is referring to, you know, the two American political parties, which, you know, the Democrats are like your plebeians, the Republicans are like your patricians. However, you know, a lot of times brothers leave it at that. You know, patrician and the Republicans are really two completely different things. You know, back in ancient Rome, the patrician class were basically the Romans that were around since the time of the Etruscan rulership. You know, and they were like the patricians. You know, they were pretty much more than the upper class, the people who have always been around. They have like a legacy of those people ruling during the time of the Etruscan kings. And the plebeians were the new people who came into ancient Rome. You know, so, you know, with Rome, they pretty much had a, I guess you could say, open policy when it came to people. You know, if you came in, they would accept you. But, you know, there was different social classes. If you were new, they called it novus homo. If you were a new kind of guy, then, you know, you wouldn't have as much power as someone who's always been around. You know, so it's different. The patricians were a little bit more wealthier, but plebeians were also wealthy as well. So it's really deeper than just saying rich and poor. This book of Revelation, chapter 13 and 12. Next all the power of the first beast before him and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. I was ancient Rome basically coming back in reincarnation. Right? They do great wonders so that he maketh fire to come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. They're talking about America. That's what America did. They see the earth, and see the them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles, which is technology, which you have power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, they should make an image of the beast, which had whom by a sword if they lived. Right? And that image is a system. You know, it's not a little image like a painting or something, or some sort of hologram, like some people like to say. The image is the system itself. You have power to give life to the image of the beast, the image of the so the image of the beast should both speak, because it will not, cause that as many as will not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Right? Why? Let's read on down. Because all, right, we look at the word cause, it persuades or makes, forces all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Right? You know, the mark goes back to charagma, something sliced in incision, right, which is essentially just a microchip, or how would you call it, biometrics. How's it going, sir? Yeah, no, it's not recording. He was recording me. If you have a question.
There was a fellow that did this over there at Columbus Circle.
Yeah.
Do you know him?
Yeah, does he have like is he like kind of like around my skin complexion?
Yeah.
Kind of? Yeah, I know.
Not so much hair, right?
Yeah.
What happened? Did he die?
Is he dead?
No, I'm asking you. He's not
Oh, no, he's still around. I think he moved. Like he's not over there, but he's in a different spot now.
No, because we spoke like before the sickness, right?
Yeah.
And like for 2-3 years I haven't seen him.
Oh no, he's still around. You know, I still see him. You know, we believe in the same thing. So if you got any questions, you know, I'm fine.
No, we spoke many times.
Got you.
So I just wanted to know if he was alive.
Oh no, he's alive, man.
He told me he wasn't going to get the vaccine, and he didn't.
Yeah.
So, take care, sir. Be well.
Yeah, you too, brother.
Alive, okay?
Yeah. Me too, my man. Yeah, that's you know, he was talking about the brother Rakam Mayam. You know, that brother's still around. He's still out there pushing. You can find him at Rakam Mayam, Burning with Fire. You can find that brother's page over there. But yeah, that's funny. That's funny, man. Yeah. But yeah, that brother's still around, man. You know, that brother's still around, still alive and kicking. That's for damn sure. You know, I'd even talk about while I'm over here. Apparently Comic-Con's going around, and my camp spot is not too far from where Comic-Con is held. So decided it's best to just move over here. You know, be stuck around millions of masses of people wearing fucking anime cartoons. But yeah, this book of Revelation, chapter 13, verse 14, he seeth them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do inside the beast. See it to them that dwell on the sword, they should make an image of the beast which had the wound by a sword, and they live, right? So I read that already. He calls it all, verse 16 again, he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond. They receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Alright, which is biometrics, the microchip, all that stuff, right? And this is what we're seeing here in the news. With the UN developmental program, or whatever it's called, basically calling for, digital IDs, and they're pushing this stuff clandestinely while everyone's focused on the Middle East. No one's talking about the UN, what they're doing. So this whole thing, man, it's a distraction. I'm starting to see more secret stuff going around in different agencies with the UN, and different talks going on, so people aren't paying attention. But same with Ukraine, where people are focusing on Ukraine, all kinds of stuff went down, Verse 17, that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Right? Here is wisdom, let none that have understanding count the number of the beast, for the number of a man is number 666. Alright, so the name of the beast, right, is a vibration, and the number of the beast is 666, which is, when you look at these different, psyops and different, false flag operations that go on across the city, whether it's stuff to incite racial war, it always goes back to 666. All these variant events, they all go back to 666 some way, somehow. So we can go back to this article because I wanted to talk about something. Alright, so this is AEI.org. Let's see what AEI means. I'm not going to get it, but this is just a website, and what they say is true. So Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, A Secret Russian Life by Ali Afane, February 23rd, 2012. Is Iran Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, a graduate of the Patrice Lumumba People's Friendship University in Moscow? Did the KGB recruit Khamenei as a spy in the 1960s? Is Soviet indoctrination ideological training to blame for Khamenei's hatred of the United States? The Persian blogosphere is boiling over with speculations about Khamenei's alleged Soviet connections, right? And this goes back to Ezekiel, the 38th chapter. This Lumumba School, Friendship University, is basically a training ground by Russia to pretty much train up world leaders, send them back to their home countries, and basically send them all around, and have them basically hate the United States and, be allies of Russia, so that's what all that means. You read about Ezekiel 38, which we're going to get in a second. So the affair started Wednesday as Iranian bloggers discovered Russia Today's February 5th, 2010 report on the 50th anniversary of the People's Friendship University in Moscow, was Meshach in the scriptures, in which Khamenei is mentioned among the university's most notable graduates. A claim also appears on Russia Today's website, although the reference is made to Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, an obvious mistake. Subsequently, Iranian bloggers identify other Russian sources making the same claim. The November 25th, 2003 issue of Kommersant present Khamenei as a People's Friendship University graduate. Khamenei's official biography does not make any reference to the People's Friendship University. This may reflect the truth, and Khamenei may not have received any education in the Soviet Union. Okay, so he actually did go and study there for the Soviet Union, which is why he's allied with Russia, but they try to keep it a secret, but how does this all tie into Israel and Palestine? We know that Syria is backed by Iran, you know, and both those nations, they go back to Russia, you know, and pretty much that's where the Iranian leader went to, you know. So let's see. Yep, he's still the leader, you know. Second current supreme leader of Iran in office since 1989, right? And Ali Khamenei, you know, they're saying that they want to get involved, you know. Hezbollah, which is basically an Iranian proxy, you know, they're talking about entering. Yeah, see Hezbollah news. Yeah, so yeah, they're saying that they want to go back. So yeah, let's look at AlJazeera.com. Israel-Hezbollah exchange fire amid fears of regional escalation. Israel has declared its northern border Lebanon a closed military zone after deadly clashes with Hezbollah as fears grows to the opening of another front amid an ongoing bombardment of Gaza Strip. So yeah, you know, so they've already started fighting, you know, wars and rumors of wars, you know. And as I said, you know, all goes back to Russia. And Russia is pretty much one of the top dogs in the Middle East. You know, that's why World War III is going to happen in the Middle East, is because all the Middle Eastern nations, Iran, you know, Iraq, all these nations, they're basically proxy states. You know, those nations are rebels, those are proxy armies. You know, so the Middle East is just, you know, a big region of proxies. You know, really Israel pulling the strings over here in the West, but, you know, that's the only thing that isn't a proxy. So that's why World War III is going to unfold in that region. You know, that, the resource wars, and all of them. All right. The Lebanese political military group says its attack came in response to Israel strikes into Lebanon a day earlier that killed two civilians and a Reuters cameraman who was filming near the border. So yeah, so let's look up here, Hezbollah, Iran, proxy. So that's what it is. So you got here Wilson Center, Iran's Islamist proxies, you know. Iran's Islamist proxies in the Middle East, right? And we're just gonna read this article. You know, I didn't plan to get this, but September 12th, 2023. Since the 1979 revolution, Iran has built a network of proxies across the Middle East. As of 2022, Tehran had allies among more than a dozen major militias, some with their own political parties that challenge local and neighboring governments. Iran's Revolutionary Guards and elite Quds forces provide arms, training, and financial support to militias and political movements in at least 6 countries: Bahrain, Iraq, Lebanon, the Palestinian territories, Syria, and Yemen. Alright, so that's pretty much that. And the United States has struggled to deal with Iran's proxies short of military confrontation since 1984 and across 6 presidencies. Right, so as I said, Iran has a proxy, and then Iran itself is a proxy of Russia. So this all goes back into pretty much a big diplomatic spider web. Right? The United States has sanctioned Iran's extensive network of militia proxies in the Middle East to contain Tehran's regional influence, right, which is really Russia's regional influence, because that's what Iran is, pretty much just a proxy state of Russia. Right? The Trump administration increased the pace and scope of punitive economic measures between 2017 and 2021. The sanctions have never fully succeeded. In 2020, the State Department estimated that Iran gave Hezbollah $700 million a year. In the past, Tehran has historically gave $100 million annually to Palestinian groups, including Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Okay, so pretty much all these nations, as I said, they go back to Russia. You know, you see here, BRICS is you know, they're not backing any side of this war, this conflict. But BRICS is basically saying if they cease fire, you know, basically share Jerusalem with Palestine, you know, that they'll recognize the Palestinian state, and that's what the BRICS want. They want a Palestinian state, which honestly makes sense because they can use the Palestinian state as pretty much their proxy, as a proxy state, which, you know, it pretty much, Palestine is pretty much already a proxy anyway. As you see here of Iran, and Iran is a proxy of Russia. And Palestine is also a proxy of China because last year the Palestinian leader was named Mahmoud Abbas. He went to go to China, and Xi Jinping gave Mahmoud Abbas a banquet, apparently about a year ago. So between 1995 and 2022, 5 administrations, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, and Biden, sanctioned 11 Iranian proxy groups in 5 countries. They also sanctioned 89 leaders from 13 support groups supported by Trump, right? These sanctions are going to work because they have their own resources and their own, you know, ways of handling economics, you know? Right, like the sanctions against Russia aren't going to work. Russia has the BRICS. The BRICS is expanded. You know, they have, you know, more people in there. Egypt, you know, nations like that, you know, so they got a lot more people in there. So you don't gotta read into all these, but that's pretty much that. I may actually return back to this, you know, at a later date. But we could go back here. So this is back at AEI.org, right? Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, a secret Russian life, right? The same Ali Khamenei was the current Supreme Leader of Iran, right? Which, as I said, this whole thing is going back into Iran. Now Hezbollah is getting pulled into this, you know, which could pull Syria into this, because I think Netanyahu said he would destroy Damascus if Hezbollah got involved. So this thing could open up into Syria, and if it opens up into Syria, Iran could join the conflict. But I don't really seeing it getting any more than this. You know, I doubt it. But this thing is rapidly unfolding and rapidly becoming a diplomatic and geopolitical mess. You know, a disaster. It's a humanitarian crisis as well. You know, because Israel has shut off the water to that region. You know, which is a war crime. You know, and yeah, we're gonna get into all that in a second. So it's not easy to assess the claims about Khamenei's past because the Russian sources do not mention the year of his graduation, which leaves us at the mercy of less reliable sources. According to Khamenei's official biography, he traveled to Iraq in 1957 to study at the Theological Seminary in Najaf. Since the People's French University was first established in 1960, the young Khamenei could not use his journey to Iraq as a cover to study for his studies in the Soviet Union. But according to his official biography, Khamenei spent a clandestine life in Tehran in the year March 22nd, 1966 to 1967, after which he was arrested by police and imprisoned. Then the 28-year-old Khamenei spent a year living in clandestine life in Moscow rather than Tehran. Was Khamenei arrested because of Iran's pre-revolution secret service, the Savak, had found out about Khamenei's visit to Moscow? Savak documents published by Iran's Liberation Army, founded in Paris after the 1979 revolution by General Bahram Aryana, may provide other interesting insights into Khamenei's alleged Soviet connection, but this author has not yet found the opportunity to study those files. Khamenei may or may not have been a graduate of the People's Friendship University in Moscow, and he may or may not have been recruited by the KGB in the 1960s. What no one can deny is the fact that the Islamic Republic, which prides itself in pursuing an independent foreign policy on the principle of neither East nor West, the Islamic Republic has in reality always tilted more towards the East. It can also not be denied under Khamenei's leadership, diplomatically isolated Iran has become more and more dependent on Russia and China. Historians will judge the degeneration of Iran into a Chinese-Russian protectorate is by Khamenei's design or due to the general incompetence of the Islamic Republic's leaders. Alright, which it is by the design. Really, the creation of China is also by America's design. You know, they say Kissinger met with Mao Zedong and pretty much set up China to be one of the biggest exporters. You know, And to this day, a lot of stuff is made from China. So that was that. Suck it for my sniffles. It's a little chilly. Yeah, I'm not really close on whether my upper body's my hands, my face. I didn't bring my my winter coat, which I should have, but I got 2 hoodies on, so it's not a big deal. You know, so this is the book of Ezekiel 38, right? That was at 1. And the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against God, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him. All right, so Gog and Magog is talking about the land, you know, of Russia today. You know, I didn't even mention that. Yeah, Mahmoud Abbas, they say, also went to that school, because I looked up the school's alumni, Lubumba Friendship University, and the Palestinian Supreme Leader Mahmoud Abbas also goes back to that school. You know, which, as I said, that school was KGB training ground for world leaders. You know, which is not really talked about in the news, and it's still around to this day. You know, it's very similar to, I think the WF has a similar thing. I think it's the Young Leaders Program, you know, where they train up the next generation of world leaders to pretty much push out the WF world agenda. You know, one world government, open borders, you know, all that stuff. That's all the same stuff that they're all pushing. So this is Ezekiel 38, right? And you know, Meshach, as you see here, is Moscow, and Tubal is Tobolsk, which is one of the oldest regions of Russia. And say, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I am against thee, O God, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, right? And got that. And I'll turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I'll bring thee forth in all thy army, horses and horsemen, and all of them all sorts of army, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Right? And that's the Lord has already done. The Lord has this happened all the way going back to Russia's war with Ukraine. You know, the Lord put the hooks in his jaws, put the fighting spirit of Russia back in. There was a time when Russia was basically kind of weak. They say around the time when Boris Yeltsin, I think that was his name, he was pro-West. He was kind of like a Western-minded Russian leader. And they say Putin kind of walked back a lot of his policies and started to put that fighting spirit back in Russia. If you go into the name Vladimir Putin, it pretty much translates to he who walks in the path to power. Right? So that's essentially already happened. Right, here we got a precept, Jeremiah 50 and 9. Right, for lo, I'll raise up the counts to come against Babylon, assembly great nations for the north country, which is Russia. They should set themselves in array against her, from thence she shall be taken. The arrow shall be as of a mighty expert man, none shall return in vain. Right, and those arrows are talking about the nuclear missiles. And there's too many scriptures to get into that proves that the arrows are nuclear missiles. Like the one that talks about the arrows come out of a ball. It's pretty much talking about the missile silos. And also let's talk about ICBMs, because when you look into you know, a missile silo from which ICBMs, you know, are able to be sent forth, it's basically like a bow and arrow. You know, the silo ICBM system is basically a bow and arrow, with the ICBM itself being an arrow. And you see the way ICBMs travel, they go up over the Earth's atmosphere and they just come right back down. You know, which, look at an arrow. When you fire an arrow and it goes to the sky, it comes right back down. It's the same thing. Right, so that's pretty much that, right? And as we know, Jeremiah 50 is talking about America, because it prophesies of Babylon's ultimate destruction, which will last forever. You know, no one will ever dwell in there again. Okay, so that proves that it can't be talking about ancient Babylon, because you had Iraq, you know, is still around, you know, and you got a war in Iraq, which people don't like to talk about, but Iran actually joined up with America in Iraq. They actually provided support. They say America couldn't actually take down Iraq without Iran's help. So this actually goes back to a lot of history, you know. But I could be wrong. You gotta double check me. So Ezekiel 38:5, Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, with them, all of them was shielded and helmet. India/Iran, right, is Persia. Ethiopia, right, is in league with Russia. Libya, North Africa, are allies of Russia. And when we look into all these nations, these are all Muslim nations, right? Nations that follow the Ishmaelites. They may not go back to Ishmael themselves, but they are nations that, follow the Ishmaelite way of life. And as we know, Ishmael shall be a wild man, and his hand shall be against every man, every man's hand shall be against him. Right, so these are very wild nations that Russia are allying themselves with to go out and push forth war, So that's that, right? And as I said, what's interesting, right? Persia, Iran, that's what all goes back to. Now I don't know about the Ethiopian supreme leader, the Libyan supreme leader, but Ali Khamenei, he goes back directly to the Russians since the 60s. He was a KGB spy going back to the 60s. He went to that Lubumba school, Friendship University School in Moscow, and was trained by the KGB. A lot of people aren't going to talk about that. That Lubumba school in Moscow isn't really mentioned by the news. No one's going to talk about that. But yeah, that's what it means. How Russia is basically a guard unto all these nations. They trained up their world leaders and scattered them all across the world. Right? Gomer and all his bands, House Togum, of North Quarters, all his bands, and many people with him. Right? And this is talking about Turkey. Right? And Turkey is with Russia too. Turkey kind of plays both sides. I mean, Turkey is with the EU and NATO, but it's also allies of Russia. Turkey is pretty much, I think, the only nation in the EU that pretty much hasn't been, making, clear, support of Israel. Be thou prepared for thyself all the company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. Right? And when you look into that word guard, it's pretty much to protect them, and also be a leader. Diligence, office, ward, garden, watch, prison guard observances. To observe them, be thou a leader unto them. That's what they did. They trained Russia back in the Soviet Union times, KGB times. They trained a lot of these world leaders, sent them back to their nations, and pretty much had these nations as a proxy state of Russia. That's all these nations are, And then these proxy nations of Russia go out and become proxy nations. They'll pretty much create other proxy nations and pretty much have rule over other nations. Like as we're seeing with Iran, Iran has 11 different proxy groups that are under them. But of course this is information not going to hear about in your media. And I'm certain this video is going to get taken down. I guess I'm going into a lot. Yeah, this video is probably not going to last long. Right. So I already talked about Mahmoud Abbas, which is another nation that goes back to Iran, which Iran goes back to Russia. So it's deep, man. It's deep. It's not like information that's like crazy, but it goes back a long way. All right. So I want to get this scripture. Alright, hate the war. I can't remember what this is. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 17. I always talk about this, Revelation 11, Revelation 17 and 10. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue this short space, right? So the 5 are fallen, right? France, the Greeks, Germania Major, Germania Minor, and Spain, right? And the Gauls is basically modern day France and Switzerland, but more so France. We're talking about the 7 heads. When he cometh, he must continue a short space, right? So the one that is the Roman Empire, which just came back within that beast system, right? Well, actually, no. One that is talking about the Roman Empire, which is still around, while John the Revelator was on the Isle of Patmos. I almost went on. The other's not yet come, which is Great Britain. And of course, out of Great Britain came America because of 1776, which is American Revolution and all that. Verse 11, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth, and is of the seven, and goeth into perdition. Right? The beast that was is referring to the Roman Empire, which came back in the reincarnation as America. And the eighth is talking about America, which came out of the British Empire, and the British Empire is of the seventh, because like Britannia and all that. And goeth into prediction, where America will be destroyed. As it says in Jeremiah 50, Jeremiah 49, Isaiah 13, is here Revelation 17, Daniel the 7th chapter, 2nd Ezra, this is 2nd Ezra 16 as well. I don't know about 15. Well, 15 obviously, yeah, that too. That's martial law. I think 16 is the one that's more about World War III. Revelation, 2nd Ezra 13, and many more, many more. And all across Revelation, I think Revelation, the 7th chapter, maybe it's the 8th, the 9th chapter talks about it. It's in a lot of places that prophesies of America's destruction. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. Right? So referring to the European Economic Community, also known as the European Union, was started with only 10 members. Right? 1 hour is 41.6 years. I got to go into that, what that means. I never heard of that one. That was just one day. I got to go into that. Verse 13, right? These have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast, right? Which that's what the NATO and the EU nations have done. They're giving their power unto the beast. These NATO and these EU nations, they can't worry about their own interests anymore. They have to worry about the interests of their whole group, which is, a cause of concern by a lot of the citizens, in those nations, right? Of course, the EU will support NATO, so EU will support NATO, NATO will support EU. So all these nations, they can't just follow their own interests and just say, oh, the hell with you guys, Verse 14, these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome him, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called chosen and faithful, right? So they essentially try to fight Yahushai, and they will lose, because Yahushai is prophesied to overcome them, right? And we know that, visions for a point in time, will come to pass, shall not tarry, don't tarry, shall not lie. Habakkuk the 2nd chapter is not going to be found untrue. Right? And the Lamb shall overcome them. Right? Yahushua and the angels will destroy them, right? Along with the elect. So that goes back into 2nd Ezra 13 and 9. Right? I don't want to go into all this. Don't submit to you can. Let's talk about Yahushua. 2nd Ezra 13:8. At this, behold, lo, all they which were gathered to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. Right, talk about all the nations of the world. World War III. And lo, as he saw the bonds of the multitude that came, he lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, like coming out of the mountain that Christ basically engraved for himself, which is the chariot, right? People were standing on top of it, right? Sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and as his lips of flaming breath, as the tongue he cast out sparks of tempest, where he's talking about the chariot laser beams. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. Right? And this is what Ezra is saying. Ezra is basically seeing a vision of World War III, and he's seeing Christ come back upon the chariot, so-called UFO, and destroying these nations. Right? We can also get into another precept that we can touch on. Is Revelation, the 6th chapter. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 6, verse 1. And when I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, I heard as with the noise of thunder, one of the four beasts saying, "Come and see," which is an angel. And I saw smoke. And I saw, behold, the white horse, and he that sat upon him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and went forth conquering, and to conquer. Right? And the horse represents, power, the chariot that he was in, right? And the Yahushai, he was having that weapon, was those chariot laser beams, you know. And we hold on. Well, yeah, that's pretty much that. We don't really need to talk about that one. But, really, when you read about Revelation, the 6th chapter, that's not exactly in order, you know. In Revelation, the second, when it talks about the red horse, you know, that isn't saying like that. It's going to come after Yahushai or something. The red horse is already here, man. That's Esau and his weaponry, you know. Esau already has his blessing, which is the sword. We've been through all that. We've seen World War II. We've seen him use the nuclear missiles and completely level Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You know, we've already seen that, right? Revelation 17-15, going back to this. They say unto me, the waters thou seest, where the horse sitteth, which is America, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues, right? Those are the nations that America sits upon, right? Which America, anyway, is just a proxy state of Israel anyway. So, you know, it goes deep. It goes deep. America has a rule over the planet Earth, but America itself is a proxy nation itself. You know, that's all it is. And verse 16, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, we shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. Right? And the 10 horns, as I said before, is talking about NATO and the EU. Right now, what we're seeing right now in this Israeli-Palestine conflict, right? The same thing which we've seen with the Iran, with the Ukraine-Russian war, is that NATO and the EU do not have a united opinion on the issue. For the most part, the leaders of EU have given solidarity to Israel. Right now, you know, all these nations, they went to Israel. The Prime Minister of Canada went there. The Prime Minister of France, I believe, went there. Either the Prime Minister or the Foreign Minister, I can't remember which. Our Defense Secretary, I think that's Defense Secretary Blinken, he went there. And pretty much all these different people, you know, like our War Secretary, these guys went to Israel, but none of them are giving any solutions. You know, they just went down there just to grandstand. It's all for show, you know. And basically what's going on is that within all these different nations, man, you know, while the leaders are saying, hey, we're for Israel, hey, there's a lot of differences in these nations, a lot of divisions going on in these nations. You know, even within America, there's been fightings across varying campuses. I know that. You know, people arguing over this stuff. Some people are pro-Palestine, some people are pro-Israel. And it's just been war, man. It's been fighting going all over the place. You know, within a lot of EU nations, the left-leaning parties are saying, hey, we're pro-Palestine, man. Well, they're saying that they're not going to call what Palestine's doing terrorism. So that's what you're seeing right there, man, you know. All this is going to lead onto essentially America becoming more and more diplomatically isolated, you know, because that's how it's all going to end, you know, because I was watching this one guy, Alexander Mercurius, and I agree with him. He said that over time, man, a lot of these guys, they're going to lean towards Palestine, you know, because that's the way it's going to lead to peace. By setting up a Palestinian state is going to be what's going to lead to peace, you know. And pretty much what's going to be the end of this is that America is going to become diplomatically isolated, and then that's when you're going to see this prophecy come to pass. NATO and the EU are going to nuke America. They're going to join in the war. And that goes back to Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, you know. So that's pretty much going to be America's fate. I can see that happening. You know, but either way, one way or another, America is going to become more and more diplomatically isolated. You know, more and more the EU nations, they're gonna start to pull back. You know, they're gonna start to pull back over time. You know, because just following America's lead is just gonna lead to World War III. Well, I mean, all of it's gonna lead to World War III, but you know, it's just gonna lead to more and more senseless conflict, more and more senseless spending. You know, so that's pretty much that. I think I made my point for today. I may come back later on. I may talk more about the Lumumba Friendship University in Moscow and how that ties into Palestine, and how Mahmoud Abbas himself is an alumni for that Russian training center And I may talk about that. I may talk about other things. You know, I just gotta wait and see. But let's say and once again, double honor to the elders and apostles, the GMS. And yeah, you know, that's pretty much it. You know, I'm gonna go head home, get some foodsies, and I'm gonna go drink some chocolate milk now. Shalom. No, I'm just joking.